Um, well, my first item about Stockton was my wife found a help wanted listed in the NC2A at Stockton College. She told me about it. I contacted them. They said they'd like me to come down for an interview, so I came down early. I was very disappointed when I got here the first day because it took me forever. I didn't know how to get here. And then I saw the track, which was a Resolite track that had been built in '72, and it had grass growing up through the middle and everything, and I went, oh man, I don't want anything to do with that. And then I got a call and had an interview right before the '96 Olympics, and I said, had a great interview. The people were very nice. One of the things I remember though, Larry James didn't really interview me. Instead, he showed me a video of the Saudi team practicing soccer here, getting ready for the Olympics. But I went to the Olympics and came back and got a phone call and was offered a job. And I retired, so I was open to try something new, and that's how I got here. The living arrangements were funny. I didn't see any reason why I couldn't take a mat off the wall and sleep in one of the handball courts. And then Paul Chambers found me there one morning and panicked. So I ended up being able to rent a place in Ocean City for $15 a night on nights I stayed. Other than that, it was a 77-mile one-way commute back and forth to Newtown. In the way of athletics, of course, the most striking change has been this building, the sports complex, and the track and field facilities. I don't believe there's anybody in the state that's facilities are any better or as good as ours, really. We're laid out perfectly as far as being able to get from one event to another without having problems. The track is an Olympic-sized track. It's just an outstanding facility for us to be able to train in and also hold meets. That's just the most marked thing that I've seen, of course, from a physical point of view. The fact that when we built this, building the sports complex, which was supposed to at one time contain an indoor track, when we got cut back, at least facilities took care of us as far as making sure we could do some vaulting indoors and throwing indoors, and that's an advantage that a lot of schools don't have. So from a physical point of view, that's what I've seen. From the student view, what I've seen since I first came here is, I think, a growth in the academic expectations of the athletes. Not just in my program, but in other programs. I think that the school was striving to improve its academic picture, and in doing so, some of the people we were bringing in were better students to begin with, and I think the coaches have done a good job of raising the expectations for the academics. I think what I'm most proud of about what we produced, and I say we because my coaching staff's been very important to me, the administration backing and the admissions people and so forth, so it's a we thing, is that what we've done with the graduation rate. A graduation rate for cross-country track and field athletes is in excess of 85%. That's really good for a state school. So that's the thing that I think I'm most proud of that we've accomplished since I've been here. We've had a lot of individual success, quite a few All-Americans, and the All-Americans that we've had, all of them who have finished their 4 years here have graduated. We have 2 students that are All-Americans who still are here with us. Hopefully they'll graduate, be after I left, but at least they'll graduate. We've done some things the school had never done. We had Penn Relays champions in the men's and women's relays. The school had never done that. And we've had individual champions at Penn Relays. In fact, our best year, we had individual winners in the long jump, the high jump, and the triple jump at Penn Relays. And even the Division I schools don't normally have a thing like that happen. Larry James was, I thought, a good athletic director who, although he had this great track background and everything, didn't try to interfere with work I did and tried to keep an even balance as he handled all the sports. He was a great guy, didn't want to interfere. Yeah, that was one of the big things. He just let me do my thing. Paul Clemming, I call Paul an animal. Paul just one of the greatest natural athletes that I've ever been around, and you know, over the 50-some years of coaching and that, I've been around a lot of kids, but he was very coachable, really knew and studied his event, and just a great kid to work with. Sometimes I wish he'd had a little more inner drive, because I think he could have gone on and been an Olympian. Kim Marino, I kind of discovered Kim Marino walking around here and just kind of suggested she come out for track and field. She came out and Curl got a hold of her, got her convinced in vaulting. And I've never had any athlete anywhere who has been more dedicated. Well, maybe he's had some that have been as dedicated, but more dedicated. She would train every day. She did her lifting. I don't think she ever missed anything. And again, a very intelligent athlete who would understand what the coaches were asking for and could really perform. And she's been a great supporter of our program ever since she's graduated also. Tiffany, we got Tiffany as a transfer, and again, as it is with most of the good athletes that we've had here, just so easy to coach. We changed a little bit in what she was doing. She was a great thrower to begin with. We changed a little bit there, and then the other thing was that she was willing to try other events, and was NJAC champion in more than just the javelin, and she also won hammer and discus one year. So just a real pleasure to work with, and again, an intelligent athlete. Jason Resch was the first All-American we had here at Stockton, and again, I'm talking about since 1997. Very intense young man, was training very well. We thought that he could make it to the Nationals in the 800 and be an All-American, and the year he was an All-American, he got Lyme disease, and we lost quite a bit of training with him, so had to change goals. Jason was not the easiest athlete to work with, not because he wouldn't listen in that, but he was so hard on himself. So I think Jason coming in as coach is a real plus for the program. I'm sure he's going to be a better recruiter than I was, and I think he really loves Stockton so much that he wants to be here, and that's one of the biggest things. I think at Division III, you don't want turnover in coaches. You need the continuity, and I think that he's going to give us that stability for maybe 40 years, who knows, because he's young. His experience, first of all, he was a head coach at a D2 school and had to take care of everything. And then he spent the last couple years with Roger Kingdom at Cal State in PA, and he's been in charge of the recruiting there. So I think that's going to be a real plus for us. The athletes. I mean, that's what it's all about. You know, and the turnover of them, but still the athletes. Just having a chance to work with young people and see them improve, see them change, not just in athletics, but as they become young adults, how their outlook changes and things of that sort. So that's the big thing. That's what I'll miss. You know, some of the people that I've met here, I'll miss them. I'll sure miss Kevin Chandler and Curl. I won't have them to pick on every day, but the big thing is the athletes. I mean, that's what it's all about. Paul Clemick at Penn Relays, winning the long jump and the high jump. That's when you have an athlete win two. Our men's 4x4 relay winning at Penn Relays, which is a big thing because you got a crowd of 25,000 people and your kids perform well that day. Abad Akhtar winning his our first cross-country championship ever in the history of the school. Robin Evangelist just running at ECACs, knowing she only had one last chance to qualify for nationals, and the way that she just lit up afterwards. They kind of all roll together. So many of them. Lisa Shepard at nationals the week her dad had died the week before, and then we went to nationals, and the way she competed there, I'll never forget that. So those are some, but it's one of those deals where as you just keep thinking, there are more and more of them. But they were the ones that stand out the most, I think. Again, the thing I enjoy most is working with the kids. But I also enjoy sometimes sitting down with the faculty members for lunch and letting them know that we in athletics are producing great students. And we've had a number of our teams be All-Americans year in and year out, All-American academic students year in and year out. I guess right now one of my surprising athletes would be Randy Fages. He has become a real force in the steeplechase this year, and coming out of high school he was kind of one of the crowd, so to speak. But we've had a lot of them. Abad Akhtar was a surprise. He had run well for Atlantic City, but had never gotten into the state meet or anything, and then to go on and compete twice at nationals and to win the conference championship. That was surprising as far as looking at what they had done in high school and then moving on from there. That we've had a number of other kids that have been like that, just to try and sit down and say this one or that one. It's just difficult, but those would be the ones that are the biggest surprises that I've had. Clemick, we haven't had a lot of sprinters over the years here. We're Jason Resch at the 400, Curtis Sands. They would be the ones that, as far as fast goes. Akhtar, Evangelist, Marino, Resch, Sands, Fages is becoming that way. They're the ones that come to my mind as being the ones that are off the top of my head. Barb Propik, a little girl who just runs a steeplechase and just attacks that water jump so tough, he's so good at it. I guess the fearless ones, though, they're the ones who are willing to step out and try something new. So there's just a whole slew of them that have done that, gotten out of their comfort zone in an effort to help the team. Tiffany Massour, Resch, a whole slew of pole vaulters, because if you're not consistent in the vault, you just can't be successful. Most of our kids are pretty good that way, but that's a group that kind of stands out. No question. Clemic. As I said earlier, the most talented athlete I've ever worked with or seen. You know, I mean, just a shame that we didn't get him maybe younger, that he spent a couple of years in another school, because we were able to maybe mold him a little bit, so to speak. Kim Marino, great talent. Tiffany, great talent. Lisa Shepard, a solid talent. But those are the ones that I felt were talented. The other ones maybe weren't quite as talented, but succeeded because of how hard they worked. I'm not sure. I kind of plan on leaving New Jersey. I like the mountains. I'd like to get into some mountains. I hope to continue to coach, but on more of a volunteer basis, something of that sort. All the paperwork and that I don't really need to put up with. So it's going to depend on where we live and what will happen that way. But I love the sport. A couple of people, you know, officials and so forth have talked to me, and they're all saying you can't leave the sport, you can't leave the sport. And I don't want to leave the sport, but I don't want to be an official either. So hopefully I'll find some place that I can help with people. Well, you know, I've really enjoyed the years here. I think we changed the attitude about athletics and I'm talking about the track and field program, cross-country program. One of the things that I've found is, although the faculty is not pro-athletic, they are pro-student, and that means that they're willing to help the student who needs the help. They're willing to spend the extra time with them, and that's a real plus, because in a lot of schools, the professors just teach their hour and don't really worry about helping the kids. And I've never had any problem with any of my athletes getting extra help. Admissions has been a help over the years. There's no question about that. The office staff that we've had has changed some over the years, but the office staff have been very supportive, and whenever I've needed help, they've done it. And you know, I just appreciate all the help that everybody gave us over the years.